Hello and welcome to the Federal. Today we have with us Mr. Thomas Isaac, former Kerala State Finance Minister, who is here to speak on record GST tax mop-up in the month of April. Thank you, Mr. Isaac, for joining us. So my first question is, these increased revenues in the first month of the financial year, a record 1.67 lakh crore, which is the highest in 5 years. What do you think this indicates?
Well, it indicates there is recovery taking place, the trade is improving, and the efficiency of administration is improving. But there is nothing to be elated about. Assume that the pre-GST collection of subsumed taxes was averaging 1 lakh rupees per month. Then it was supposed to grow at 14% per annum. So by that record, minimum, the GST growth in April should have been not 1.6 lakhs, but more than 2 lakh crores. This shows that by July, when the compensation ends, there is going to be a precipitous fall in the revenues of the state governments. This is indeed an alarming situation. So in fact, I'm not very happy and elated, overjoyed about 1.6 lakh crores. But I am worried about what's going to happen after July, when compensation goes, and then the revenues of all state government, most of state governments would take a dip.
What, according to you, will be the centre's priority in terms of cess reduction or repaying states' outstanding amounts?
So GST as a tax system has got to stabilize, and its revenues have yet to become buoyant. In this context, I think central government should give a longer grace period for the states to adjust. That is to say, the compensation payment should continue. As the revenue picks up, the amount of compensation that is to be given would come down. Now, I don't know what stands in the way of doing this, because central government's revenues are not affected at all by the compensation. There is a special compensation cess, which is on demerit goods such as tobacco or some selected luxury commodities, which market has accepted now. So just allowing it to continue for another year or two doesn't mean anything, any commotion in the market. I don't know why central government doesn't accept that. Accept that, then let the center and states sit together and look at what went wrong. Why were the revenues not buoyant? Is it because of we have reduced the rates very drastically, particularly 28% bracket to 18 and 12% in 2017 in year end? Is it because of that? Or is it just because the inefficiency of the administration? And this has to be really discussed. I don't think it has been discussed at any length in the GST Council specifically. And also I feel this structure has to be revisited, not in terms of, say, reducing the number of slabs and so on, which is the mind of everybody. But I would say they have to be reformed, restructured with much more federal flexibility. For example, when I was party to the initial discussions of GST in the 2008, 9, 10 period. See, when people say rationalization, they all think in terms of reducing the slabs. my first difference of opinion on this is GST has already widened the inequality in the tax distribution. Luxury goods, commodities rates have drastically come down and necessities gone up. That's what has happened in the formation of GST. Now, reduction of the slabs would mean this would be the most iniquitous tax ever. It's unjustified. In a country like India with such high level of inequality, also the inequality in consumption and income, is very important that the tax structure addresses this reality. And therefore, I think we should not reduce the tax. Of course, there is an inconvenience because only one tax is so easy, you say, have transaction in the trade and so. But you know, ease of doing business, besides that, there are many other things which are important in a society and economy, like egalitarianism, poverty alleviation, and so on. And therefore, there must be a balance between the two. Already from a system where there was more than 24 taxes and each rates and everything different from state to state, you have come down to a structure which is essentially a four-tier structure, which I think is a very significant improvement. And you should be happy with that, rather than going on tinkering with the system every time.
You just made mention of the GST Council. How important is it to reconvene the council and restart the dialogue between the center and the states regarding GST taxation?
It's very, very sad, because when GST Council was formed, when GST was rolled in, everybody was praising the council, the way it functioned as an exemplary federal institution, where there was no voting, though there were very serious ideological differences between the members. There was a spirit of give and take, and things were settled through consensus. But then over time, this has changed. I don't want to go into reasons and blaming and so on. But the very fact that GST Council failed to meet for, say, more than 6-7 months at a time together, the long gaps in this meeting and regular meeting being absent, and voting taking place at least once, and certain discussions, people complaining very harshly about the way meeting is conducted. So just a degeneration of this federal institution. This is the only acting federal institution today other than, say, finance commissions, which are not representative in character.
My final question to you, Mr. Isaac, is inflation suggests that ultimate burden is borne by the consumer. What immediate steps do you think need to be taken to ease the burden on the consumer?
Very simple. Just first of all, roll back the entire additional cess and surcharges imposed on petrol and diesel since 2014. That should definitely bring down the tax. I mean, the rates, say prices of petrol and diesel by another 5 or 7 rupees each. I think we shall start with that. That should give some cushion to it. And secondly, then immediately operationalize India-Russia rupee-ruble trade system, so that we are able to import crude oil at a lower price. And there must be, I think, some revamping of our say, crude oil processing plants, because they are not in, they cannot handle kind of Russian crude oil, which is of different quality. Well, I think focus has got to be on the energy sector, where government it is for and they fall back. And then you discuss with the states whether to reduce further or not. First of all, those who unilaterally increase the rates must bring it back. Second is a food. India-Russia trade improving, ruble-rupee understanding. And then I think some contribution to the this front also is possible. Well, I think this must be a starting point.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas Isaac, for joining us and giving us your time. For more such interviews and videos, log on to thefederal.com.